Welcome to the second lecture of the course Python Programming for Beginners. In this lecture, we will learn about the programming control and basic data types. The lecture will be divided into 4 parts. The first part, I will help you to understand decision making in Python. Together, we will do practice on how to write conditional tests and the if statements. In the second part, I will talk about the loops in Python. We will learn how to write for loops and while loops in Python. I can say that the first 2 parts here are the most important parts in this lecture. Please make sure that you understand them clearly before moving on to the next lectures. If you find a bit difficult, please read the textbook and try to do practice on your own computer as much as possible. The third and the fourth parts here, I will talk about more detail about the numbers and strings in Python. I will introduce to you some functions and methods which are very useful for you. Okay, let's move on to the first part, interesting part, decision making. Decision making is a way we handle the program flow based on the conditional statement. Please look at the follow chart. Imagine your program flow starts from the beginning and finish at the end. In between, you want to make a decision whether to do something or not based on the condition. For example, you walk to school every day, right? If it's rain, you need an umbrella. If it's not, you don't need an umbrella. So you make a decision like if it's rain, then you bring umbrella. If it's not, then just go. In this example, it's rain is a condition, and the test that is rain or not is a conditional test. In programming, conditional statement is an expression which produce a Boolean value. For example, you test a variable is larger than 5, or you test whether the number is odd or even. The test will return a Boolean value. As I introduced to you, the Boolean value is a special data type that the value is only true or false. Accordingly, Python provides the syntax to write the if statement, if else statement, if else if statement, if else if else statement. Okay, let's do some example. So let's say we have a variable a equal to 7. We write the if statement. So the syntax start with the keyword if, then followed by a conditional expression a larger than 5, for example, and finally you finish the if statement with a colon. And then you press enter, it creates a new block of code. So you write something here like you print out a is larger than 5, and then you execute code. You will see, yeah, here 7 is larger than 5, right? You should remember here in the previous lecture we learned about writing similar logical expression, something like that. This is exactly the way to write conditional statement. So I only teach you here the basic things. So if you want to write more complicated conditional tests, you have to think for yourself based on what you have learned in the previous lecture. Another thing I would like to note that inside the if statement here, we create a new block of code. So that means you have to be careful about the indentation. So here, for example, you still have a equal to 7, and then you if a larger than 5, then you create a new block of code. The same thing, you print out the a is larger than 5, then you assign it to a new value a equal to 5, for example, and you print out a you print out the number A, and then you execute it. So you will see these three lines of code will be executed because this condition is true. And so you finally you see the A here is equal to 5 because this code is executed. It's not 7 anymore. So if here you assign it to 4, for example, and you execute this line of code again, you will not see anything because the condition here is false, right? Okay, that's the if statement. The if statement can follow by an else statement. Then we have if else statement. So let's say a equal to 5 if a larger than 5, and then we print a is larger than a is larger than 5, and you put an you put an else here. You please remember that you should be careful about the indentation, and then you print enter. A is not larger than 5. Okay, enter here. So you should remember that the syntax of the else is just an else, but the if and the else here is in the same indent, and the end of the else statement also is a colon. And the same thing here, you create a new block of code inside an else statement, and you should be very careful about the indentation in Python. Another useful syntax here is the if statement. You can write multiple conditional tests without repeating the if statement multiple times. So say you have a equal to 5, if a larger than 5, then you print out a is larger than 5. Then you write another thing like else if. Then you can put another conditional test here like a larger than 0, for example, and you print a is larger than 0 and not larger than 5. Then you can follow by an else. The else is the same thing before, and you can print a is not larger than 0. Alright, so here, okay, you see that 5 is larger than 0 and it's not larger than 5. Is that okay? Right, so you can change number here. For example, you put it like -1 and you execute the code here. So -1 is not larger than 0, so this line code is executed. So if you change it like it's equal to 3, for example, so this line code will be executed. Oh, sorry. When you write the if, else, and else statement, you must be very careful about the indentation. So the if, the else, the else should be in the same indent, and inside each of the statement here, create a new block of code. So you should be very careful about the indentation. Another interesting thing is that the if could be nested. So the nested if is an interesting way to write code to control the program flow. For example, you have to check whether the number is even after checking is larger than 5. So like I have the variable a equal to 7. So we write the if statement. If a larger than 5, then we do another if inside the if statement. So if mod by 2 equal to 0, this line code it checks that is whether it's an even number. So we print out that a is an even number larger than 5. Then you should be very careful about the indent. So the indent, the statement, if statement here create a block of code. So inside this is a new block of code. So you write the if statement here and else statement here. You should be very careful that the else statement here if the same indent with this if. So it is a if else statement, but you write like the else statement here. So this else will belong to the this if statement. So you should be very careful about the indentation in Python. So we print out a is an odd number larger than 5, and you execute the code. Here you see that 7 is an odd number larger than 5. You can test that if a equal to 8. You execute it again and you see it's an even number larger than 5. This line goes is execute. The decision making is one of the most important thing in programming. At this time, I don't expect you can master it right now. What I recommend to you is to do a lot of practicing, try to write more complicated conditional tests, and try to combine different ways of using if, else, and else statements. Yes, once again, practice makes perfect.